If you haven't seen the previous video in this series, follow the link on your screen or click the link in the description or pinned comment below.
Are you taking the poker bomb? Charlie! Just left!
Puddle ripples on both opening logos is a pretty heavy-handed sign that nothing new awaits us in this film.
But aren't puddle ripples a staple in this franchise ever since the first movie? Again, this is just another way to say logos exist, in which case y'all already know about my feelings on sinning logos. Also, I don't mean to be that guy, but where the fuck is the text for sin counter and times of the sins? Because you started the sins 8 seconds before you fix yourself for the very next sin. This sin is for the editing team, I guess.
In the last movie, it was 87 miles southwest of Isla Nublar, and I don't doubt its relation to Costa Rica, but damn, at least be consistent about how you describe where these islands are in relation to things. That said, movie still thinks we give a shit about where any of this shit takes place.
Just like the Birdman pointed out in the previous movie, you would be going, where the fuck is this place at? I need to know! I would like to think, considering that Crichton stopped writing Jurassic books, that this film needing a location of where we are at is warranted. Also, why would it be inconsistent to know how far Sorna is from Costa Rica when we already knew how far Sorna was from Nublar? Some people would like to know a definitive answer to that question, especially since this will be your future when it comes to your Sins videos.
1, 2, 3!
Man, this is such a lovely area. It has the best green screens in the entire world.
Yeah, the joke I made in my first CinemaSins video might actually be true, because Jeremy, that is definitely on location and not green screen. Hell, you pointed it out perfectly for Battle of the Five Armies, so why can't you see it in that?
Also, is Spielberg on set today? No? Sweet, let's go with the quick and easy green screen shot. Hurry.
You gotta stop panning the sink out, bro. I'm almost finished with this here.
Also, that's definitely Tommy Tomasino from The Sixth Sense, who I've sworn to notice and hate for all time on behalf of Haley Joel Osment.
Once again, like in the previous movie, you're going, hey, I recognize an actor. Send the movie for it. My brother in Christ, if we send actors just because they are in a different movie that's not this one, then you and me are going to have a huge new problem to solve with that one.
What happened to them?
Come on, I pretty much had it with this mystery-killing shit. The last movie showed how thrilling it can be when you can see the danger coming. The only dinosaurs that could have done this are the pterodactyls, which the Jurassic Park series has given the finger to so far.
Not really, since with this very movie, they retconned the fact that the pteranodons were out with the whole aviary they have. So honestly, nobody really knows what happened to the crew on the boat. One theory that comes up is the Spinosaurus, but then I would argue that there should have been way more damage to the boat, considering what is shown later. My point being is that this is the one and only mystery this franchise has never answered, and therefore sinning what happened to them by going, the pteranodons is not sinful, because that's not remotely close to an answer.
It's almost as though this movie's CGI was specifically created to insult Stan Winston.
Oh shit. I just finished my first apple in this whole Paddington gag. Oh well, I'll have to get another one.
Actually, Charlie, those are herbivores. They really wouldn't be interested in fighting with each other.
Dr. Grant would be amazing at CinemaSins. What a freaking buzzkill this asshole is.
No way. I would agree that Grant would be amazing at smiling the DM, because at least he is correct with his nitpicking. Also, yes, you are a freaking buzzkill, Jeremy. At least now you're being honest about it.
This is Alan.
I am almost certain that they wanted Alan and Ellie to be married and together on the adventure in this movie, but they aren't because Alan's going to need someone to call who can send the entire military to save him later.
Even if you needed somebody to call the military for later, Mark could have been just a friend of Alan or Ellie and still had the dinner scene with him to establish that. The real sin should have been Alan and Ellie not being together at all, considering the way that they looked at each other at the end of Jurassic Park. Hell, they even made them back together in Dominion anyway, so there you go.
He's a great guy.
No, he isn't. You take that back.
That's what I've been saying too! Get with Alan!
All our theories about Raptor intelligence, what they were capable of, we weren't even close.
Tell me.
I think that was the next thing he was going to do until you interrupted with your new husband. Until you interrupted.
Oh. I almost wanted to not do this one since I will be stepping on glass again, but once again, Jeremy is yelling at a female character about her speaking, when in the scene leading to Alan saying that line, Ellie asked him,
So what are you working on now?
indicating that she was done talking about her husband. So once again, Jeremy manipulated a scene on the basis of Ellie just talking to her friend/colleague, which is just... yikes, man.
They were smarter than dolphins or whales. They were smarter than primates.
But still tameable by the movie after this one, because reasons.
Oh, come the hell on. You might not know what zookeepers have to do on a daily basis, but I do. Basically, most animals can be trained to do certain sets of behaviors. Can they be tamed? No. But trained? Sure. Hell, all the animals mentioned by Grant are all trainable given enough time. Also,
The Raptor was capable of sophisticated vocalizations.
Which we heard in the last scene. They really wanted to rub that Alan isn't with Ellie anymore thing into our faces, didn't they?
okay, this scene has nothing to do with the last scene, other than the fact that Grant wanted to tell Ellie his findings before having that lecture to get more funding. This scene was not meant to rub anything in.
Are you saying that you wouldn't want to get onto Isla Sorna and study them if you had the chance?
No force on earth or heaven could get me on that island.
Oh yeah? So why am I watching Jurassic Park 3 then?
In-universe, he gets onto Isla Sorna because money was the one thing that could get him to go back. Out of universe, you're only watching this film because Jurassic World was just around the corner, and you wanted to get this movie done before the release of the newest one.
You can feel the difference.
Sexy archaeology.
Don't you mean paleontology, considering they're digging up things before human civilization was even a thing?
Gonna have to back up in 4 weeks.
Dr. Grant once again has financial troubles that will make him easy to buy when it comes to going to Isla Sorna.
But that's how the plot happens. I will never understand why explaining the plot of a movie would then count as a sin. Besides, it shouldn't be a surprise that paleontologists finally start losing funding even more than they do now, especially after the whole world found out about the T-Rex that rampaged throughout San Diego in the last movie.
This is brilliant, Billy. Really it is. Sad to say, it's just a little bit late.
Dr. Grant?
Sketchy funding offer arrives during discussion of project's dwindling funds.
Saying what the movie is also already saying. I swear, I think I might need to make a new cliche for that one if it comes up again.
We have permission to fly low.
Grant somehow believes this pushy couple when they say all they want to do is fly over the island.
I mean, they pretty much would have convinced me to if they dressed like they had class at a local bar, and they had been on multiple trips, including K2 and Galapagos, with Amanda even saying they have reserved flights to the moon. Paul telling Grant he has friends within the Costa Rican government, and when Paul tells Grant he can write whatever much he needs to keep funding his research. So, of course Grant would fall for it, because why would these people lie to him about their experiences?
Even with what I pay you, couldn't you afford a better bag?
No way. This one's lucky.
Jurassic Park franchise goes for back-to-back lucky packs in back-to-back movies, one of the many ill-advised ideas this movie crapped out.
Well, then that should have been a sin for Lost World, since it was that movie that established lucky bags, because JP3 didn't start that trend.
Alan!
Jurassic Park 3 can't tell you enough how much it hates you.
You knew you just wanted to sin this scene, but you couldn't come up with anything for it. So you just said some random bullshit and called it a sin. Because I think your audience already knew what you really wanted to say at that moment. But then I would have still sinned you for that too. So I'm going with what it could have been.
Franchise totally takes the day off and borrows the helicopter arrival music from the first movie for the plane arrival music in the third movie.
You mean to tell me that this sounds like this. Also, are we seriously going to sin a franchise's main theme now? Especially since this is one of the most iconic themes in cinema history? I think my audience will know where this shitfest is going.
For the third movie in a row, only the good dinosaurs are visible at first.
So why are we going to ignore how the Lost World already bucked that trend by showing the Compies and Stegosaurus first, both of which are considered to be dangerous dinosaurs within that film?
That's a Tyrannosaurus.
I don't think so. This sounds bigger.
It sounds bigger?
Yet another time, I and Jeremy do actually yell at the screen. Cliché.
Damn, this guy didn't even graduate from the Prometheus school of running away from things.
He was trying to get the plane to stop in that scene. That's why Cooper stopped in the middle of the runway. Even if you wanted to say he didn't graduate from the Prometheus school, the Spinosaurus is an animal that can change directions too. Your joke of the Prometheus school only works when it's a non-living object that the characters are trying to run away from.
Everyone survives this plane crash, but only because we're on Dinosaur Island.
Well, well, well. It's about damn time I got another one of these again. Look, if the plane accurately crashed into those trees, it would have caused some type of explosion which would have killed everybody. But since there would be no story if everyone would have died, this was the best way for the film to make it believable for the characters to survive the plane crash. So, once again, you're sinning. Plot armor.
All those white people to eat, and the dinosaur chooses the one black guy. That's totally racist.
I don't mind the racist part of this sin, but to be fair, at least JP3 bucked the horror cliche of the African American dying first by killing off Cooper, who was white.
All the remaining white people survive this.
Again, if they would have died there would be no story to tell here. So again, you're sinning. Plot armor. Also, what does the fact that they are all white have to do with anything? So if you're telling me that the one white character survives an entire African-American cast, and all of those actors would have died in that moment, you wouldn't have sinned that? Now that's racist.
Dinosaur plane soccer.
Pointing out things on the screen cliche.
Nobody move a muscle.
Just because they all run does not mean Dr. Grant would then also run. He believes standing still is the best way to survive, but then abandons it to become the last guy in line in the stupid runaway party? The f***?
I love how you don't show why everyone bolted in the first place, when the T-Rex clearly roared at the group because he saw them.
Run through the woods was just an excuse to get these two titanic dinosaurs to start fighting, which I'm absolutely fine with. However, epic fight takes like 30 seconds and is basically a waste of our time.
Oh, hell no! I'm not letting you go with that weak-ass excuse of a sin by saying this was a time waster. You all kind of needed to be there, but this fight would set the entire paleontology and Jurassic community on fire, with many, many, many interpretations and theories on who would have actually won that fight. I was going to even have an epic final showdown like this one with my own Dinosaur Island series on my channel, but the series never got finished. Hell, if we never had this fight in the film, Spinosaurus might not have gotten the reputation that it does today. 50 sins on CinemaSins for not giving this scene the true justice it deserves.
We called everyone. We did everything we could.
So, Paul and Amanda thought it was a better story to say they were a couple of thrill seekers looking for a guide rather than telling Dr. Grant about their missing son? Wouldn't he have been more likely to go with the true story rather than the lie?
Considering Alan's first experience on Nublar in the first movie, and the fact that he himself explains later in this film that he much prefers working with dinosaurs that are still in the rock, if the Kirbys did tell Dr. Grant the true story, Alan was more likely to refuse them, since even when he does find out, his first response is to try to get off the island. Besides, who the hell can survive on a dinosaur island for more than 8 weeks? I mean, that's kind of ridiculous.
I don't remember that on InGen's list.
It's because it wasn't on their list, and it makes you wonder what else they were up to.
The T-Virus?
Jeremy makes a Resident Evil pop.
So, Mr. Kirby, tell me, when you climbed K2...
Are we really going to spend time interrogating an already known liar about his K2 exploits?
Yes.
There's no such thing as Kirby Enterprises, is there?
That's on you guys, actually. You didn't bother to check out the business before you agreed to go on this trip.
Oh, like most people look up shit before a trip, when in actuality they plan stuff while they are on the trip itself. Trust me, I have way too much family trip experience to know that fact. even when I do plan ahead, everyone does the exact opposite of what was planned out. I swear, family trips are just like a Dungeons & Dragons game.
Also, how did Mr. Kirby collect enough cash with his paint and tile store to rent a private jet with 3 mercenary guys who would dare to fly in restricted airspace?
Jeremy, do I need to go back about 16 minutes and 4 seconds into this film to answer your question? And since I would like to believe my audience is smarter than yours, I'm not going to even play back the scene itself to explain my point.
Wow, Isla Sorna continues to provide a bounty of convenience, as Dr. Grant's beeline path to the coast just happens to pass right by crucial missing kid evidence. This island should be called Isla Coincidence.
But I mean, if you didn't have these so-called coincidences, then the entire plot of the film would have changed drastically different. To a point of why did this story need to be told if they didn't get to the more interesting stuff of that story? That's like saying, what if John Hammond never invested in creating a dinosaur park? Or what if Ian Malcolm didn't care that his girlfriend went on an expedition onto Sorna and never went to save her? Then there's no point to a story's existence because then that would have been boring as fuck.
Camera's still on.
Who gives a shit? Leave it on. What the hell was that all about?
Well, I know that you don't know, Jeremy, but this thing you don't know, what you're looking at, is called found footage. This craze really took off with a little film from 2 years ago called The Blair Witch Project. This horror movie technique would become so popular around the 2000s that it would create a little show on Animal Planet, and I think my audience could get the rest of that story.
The skeleton of Ben manages to make an appearance, but how dinosaurs didn't finish off the rest of his body makes me realize the movie just wanted to have a skeleton in it.
I mean, I could just simply say that the compies haven't been known to eat the bones out of a human corpse, but that's never been shown in this series either. So, now that we're all probably going to be wanted by the FBI, a human body can rot much faster in a jungle, to which point it would have been bone within a matter of weeks. Hence what happens to Ben here.
Amanda decides to grieve where there just happens to be a brilliantly lit nest of eggs gleaming like a treasure in an RPG.
That wasn't even remotely funny, but still, Jeremy points out things on the screen cliche.
I just stole some raptor eggs, face.
And now, we have finally arrived at one of those sins. For context, Jeremy likes to sin his videos with the context of somebody who's watching the film for the first time. Now, if you watched Jurassic Park 3 for the first time, you wouldn't have known from this scene that Billy stole raptor eggs. It more or less looked like he was, in fact, taking pictures of the nests. It's proven later in the film that it isn't true, but you wouldn't have known that from the earlier scene, is what I'm saying.
Raptors run around like ghosts in horror movies.
Well, I mean, this is technically a horror film, so...
Also, this is something that definitely needed the element of surprise so that everyone could be startled and unsettled even more than they already are.
Wait, so you mean to tell me that Billy kicking a vending machine made the scene more suspenseful? I would like to think this scene was something funny for the audience to butter them up before the really scary scene comes up. Why do I have a feeling I have already sinned you for something like this?
Can't you just go to the one that's already smashed? No? I guess you're going hungry then.
Maybe there was something that Paul wanted from the vending machine he was already willing to pay money for that Billy's vending machine doesn't have. You do realize all vending machines don't have the exact same food items in them, right, Jer? Also, Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
Okay, so I'll give you that the raptors are smart, but definitely not this smart. You mean to tell me that this asshole would rather pretend like he's encased in formaldehyde rather than just go in for the attack?
Yes. Also, when Alan Grant said earlier in the film that they were smarter than primates, did you not think that that meant velociraptors may be on the same level of intelligence as chimpanzees? In which, if you have ever seen them hunting... All I'm saying here is that this raptor likes to play with his prey before attacking them. Something that you clearly haven't learned your lesson from, eh, Jeremy?
Super fast raptor is super slow at chasing humans.
It could be the fact that they are within a confined building that has many turns to it, as opposed to being out in the open where it's a straight shot just to get to them.
Also, when in doubt, just try to replicate from the first movie on a bigger scale, while being blurrier and edited more rapidly.
Wait a minute, there was never a scene like this in the first movie at all. Unless you're referring to the Gallimimus scene, in which case the T-Rex was not after Grant or the kids in that scene. The T-Rex only showed up after the group hides under a log to escape the Gallimimus flock, and was after the Gallimimus. I swear, when Jeremy does a film series that has multiple entries to them, I find it amazing that he completely forgets what happened in the previous films, before sitting down to sin the very next film in that series. But I know what to say here. I knew you would forget Jurassic Park since you sinned it already.
So wait, the raptor didn't hear that?
Says this while showing the raptor spin his head around to hear the rest of the pack calling out about where the other humans are at.
They set a trap. They actually set a trap.
Yeah, but how did they know that you'd go back to find his body? Honestly, they have the collective power to just track these fools down on their own without trickery, so why did they even bother?
The trap with Udesky was meant to lure them out of the trees, which the group were hiding out in, so that the raptors can kill them and take their eggs back. Also, this is another time in this film where they are showing you how the raptors are more intelligent than anyone ever realized. Heck, in the first movie, they were smart enough to test weak points in their fencing to break out, able to coordinate an attack on Muldoon by flanking him, and they were even able to open doors. So, leaving their prey barely alive to catch more food is a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one.
Sensing that it's the villain in the movie, the raptor takes his sweet-ass time here instead of killing Grant immediately, so that Grant has time to escape.
Or it could be that, Jeremy, they think Alan stole their eggs because Alan grabbed Billy's bag while they were running within the herd earlier.
Seriously? So the kid is here, right now, ready to throw smoke bombs and save Dr. Grant because he just happens to be in the area? So this is missing kid ex machina, I guess.
So then it wouldn't be an ex machina if we, A, already established Billy was still alive when Ben dropped him from the parasail, and B, he was nearby where the lab was and was camped in a truck nearby where the rescue party ran from the raptors. Like you just said. My point being that, once again, this is not ex machina because everything was already established earlier before this reveal.
Seriously, maybe the stupidest thing any Jurassic Park movie asks the viewer to swallow, even worse than Motorcycle Raptor Bros, is the fact that this dumbass 12-year-old survived 8 weeks on Dinosaur Island.
Oh boy, this scene's not going to age very well. Heck, I believe that Eric, being the dinosaur nerd that he is, I would think it's more believable for him to survive on Sorna for 2 months rather than 6 campers who not only survived the destruction of an entire park, but stayed on Nublar for 6 months. Trust me, Jeremy, this is far from the stupidest thing this franchise gets to be. Not by a long shot.
I mean, 8 goddamn weeks! Last movie, a heavily armed force was driven off the island in 2 days. This movie's adults started dying off almost on touchdown. But this kid, because he reads dinosaur books, has lasted 8 weeks. My fucking ass.
You pound of sink out, bro. There's an egg pound of sink out.
Also, I guess Eric learned how to cut his own hair after being on this island for 8 weeks.
Yeah, so what's the sin here? The fact that Eric can grab a sharp object from InGen Supplies and cut his own hair? This has to be one of the dumbest things to nitpick about this film ever, because if they had answered that question, would you have removed a sin for it? Because knowing you would still sin it anyway as pointless exposition. It has nothing relevant to the story at hand, and therefore doesn't need to be talked about.
I read both of your books.
Because every kid that manages to run into Dr. Grant has read his books.
Considering Dr. Grant is one of the most famous paleontologists in this universe, of course every kid who likes dinosaurs was going to read his book. That's like meeting the very person that was responsible for liking the things you do and going, hey, I'm a huge fan of your work. Or me, if I had the chance of meeting these people at a con someday.
Also, Kid eats a Nestle Crunch, which, when you combine it with the crackles in the last movie, means this series is extremely high on crisped rice chocolate bars.
I could just call this coincidental product placement, considering Nestle and Hershey are 2 different chocolate companies, but I feel like that's not enough. Instead, if you want to know why chocolate is the main candy in this series, you need to read the Lost World novel and read into the character of Howard King. Go on. I'll wait here.
This is T-Rex P. How'd you get it?
You don't want to know.
Because even the screenwriters don't know.
Oh, trust me, Jeremy, you don't want to know the answer to that question either. Knowing what I know when it comes to working with animals, the answer is timing.
I'm astonished that you've lasted 8 weeks on this island.
Yeah, but the movie isn't.
As evidenced by what Eric says in the following scene, movie beats Jeremy to the obvious cliche.
Alan!
Now that we're up in a tree, the no yelling on Dinosaur Island rule is free to be abused even by dinosaur scientists.
Yeah, because what dinosaur could be big enough to grab them from a tree? Now, I know what my audience is going to say, but let me stop you right there. The only Rex we saw in this film was already killed off with the Spinosaurus, and the Spino in this film was never really shown to grab people from high heights, considering the plane scene and later in the film with the crane. Heck, this was why the high hide was so effective in the previous film, because the large carnivores in this series have never really attacked from high above themselves.
Man, this movie really makes me miss Stan Winston.
Hey guys, who's gonna be the one to tell him?
Eric's always been a strong-willed kid.
He probably would have found his way to Dinosaur Island without your permission.
Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
I'm so sorry that you have to be here.
This is actress Tay Leone talking to William H. Macy, which got filmed and made the final cut.
Who are we talking about?
That's my dad's satellite phone.
Later we find out this is inside the giant dinosaur, so how the f can he hear it from here?
Because the Spinosaurus was near where Grant and Eric were. I figured that was obvious, but not to CinemaSins apparently.
Also, despite the fact that the satellite phone is shown here in a second to not be with the parents, somehow this island is small enough that Eric's yelling could be heard by the parents, and the parents somehow couldn't hear the phone. What the f is going on?
I don't mind the parents not being able to hear Eric in this sin, but where I have a problem is what was already previously said in the last sin. Why would Paul, Amanda, and Billy be able to hear the phone when the Spinosaurus was closer to where Eric and Grant were? Hell, even in your very thumbnail for the Sins video, you even had the shot of the Spino standing out of the jungle where Grant and Eric were talking from the fence line. How the fuck is this possible?
Spinosaurus managed to make it through the jungle without being heard until the satellite phone began ringing.
Just like Birdman told you in the previous film, do you ever think, well, this contradicts something I've already written, maybe I should delete it so that I don't look like an ass? No? Well, shit.
Oh my god, if that isn't the luckiest damn hole in the fence I've ever seen in my freaking life.
As funny as this sin is, even back when they did their Hunger Games video, I unfortunately have a job to do here. Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
Premature relaxation.
And that's a sin because... No, seriously, why would characters in a horror film have a premature celebration from getting away from the villain be sinful? Would you ever move to sin if they kept running after the fence blocked the Spinosaurus from further attacking them at that moment? Because I would convert over to a Titans fan if you would've.
It's not a Jurassic Park movie if someone isn't trying to smuggle something dino-related off the island. No, seriously, every movie. I bet Jurassic World has some theme park investor trying to smuggle a baby dino inside his suitcase or some shit. You watch.
And you know what? It's scary how correct they actually were on this one. Jeremy made this prediction before Jurassic World even came out, and having the benefit of knowing what I know from the World trilogy, yeah, every single Jurassic film has people smuggling some dino-related material off from somewhere. You could technically make an argument for the first Jurassic World not doing this, but Dr. Wu did in fact smuggle genetic material off from Nublar towards the end of that movie. So I'll be removing sins here for how accurately Jeremy was for the whole series on this very plot point. At least until Rebirth finally comes out.
But I did it with the best intentions.
With the best intentions. Some of the worst things imaginable have been done with the best intentions.
You're right. No more good intentions for me. I'm swearing that shit off. Only evil intentions from here on out.
And y'all thinking the sinning CinemaSins community are being the bad guys here, just because we're trying to correct their mistakes here, when your Lord and Savior here just admitted that he's finally switched teams from now on. So I'm the hero here!
You're no better than the people that built this place.
Damn, I hate Billy, but Jesus, that's way over the top in harshness, Grant.
I agree! So, wait, why is this a sin?
Grant still thinks taking the only path left is a good idea after the first path he chose nearly killed him.
It's almost like there were no other options other than going back the way they came from, and that Grant picks the first path that actually leads you down from the Aviary, which broke off or something. It's almost like he tested out the bridge first, noticed that it's a bit shaky, and walked alone across it to make sure it was safe or something.
No one gives a shit.
I believe a certain somebody else did it better than you.
Ooh, nobody gives a shit!
Also, despite how bad this movie actually is in this series, it is still a movie quite a few fans of this series actually like. So, yes, Jeremy, we actually do care what happens to these characters.
Pterodactyls, the Jason Voorhees of dinosaurs.
Jeremy makes a Jason Takes Manhattan pop culture ref.
Also, how in the f*** did this thing fly around and land without anyone hearing it?
Dude, are you really manipulating probably one of the most tense reveals in this whole movie? Eric literally heard and felt the Pteranodon landing on the bridge.
Mom?
Also, you'd think we'd have seen one of these f***ers flying around the island during the movie, but no, they're all laying low for maximum surprise value.
Or it could be, Jeremy. They were literally stuck in a bird cage. Alright, I finally get to address this person's comment from my Battle of the Five Armies video. You see, this person's point was that when Legolas was jumping on the stones in this scene, it was kind of funny when Jeremy added the Mario jump sound effect in his Sins video. So I'll make it up to this person by giving this one 5 sins instead of the usual 10 I would have given here, because this was kind of funny here too.
I've been carrying the parachute around with me the whole time, you know, just in case we got into this exact situation. Good thing I told that story about hang gliding earlier, or else this would seem totally made up.
Well, yeah, that's why Billy said it on the plane earlier, so that way when he does use the paraglider without his parachuting story, you would have gone, how does he know how to control that? Also, the paraglider was kept because Grant said they could use it as a way to flag down a plane if anyone should fly by the island.
Guy who was just revealed as a selfish asshole gets immediate chance to redeem himself, because this screenwriter runs a tight ship. A boring ship, but tight.
Or, Billy is the only one able to glide a paraglider out of everyone in the group and wanted to save Eric as a way to prove Dr. Grant wrong about stealing the raptor eggs from earlier. I mean, I could be just paying attention to this movie or something.
All dinosaurs must slowly stalk their human prey for fear of ending the movie too early.
How would an animal ever figure out how long they need to stalk prey for a movie length? What the heck are you even saying there, Jeremy? Besides, the Pteranodon is doing something here called sizing up, which in the animal world is the predator's judgment on whether or not the prey they are hunting is worth the effort to catch. Hence why it's slowly walking down a tight space where its only weapon it's got against the humans is its razor-sharp beak.
Here we go now!
Hope you can swim!
Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
Well, I wish I could say that was unexpected, but at this point...
Oh, come on! They showed you the bridge breaking off when the Pteranodon fell in the water. Man, I get that this movie was the worst for a long time in this series, but god damn it, you don't have to manipulate shit to make this film even worse than it already is.
Spectatodactyl!
You knew you just wanted to send this creepy-ass scene, didn't you?
Thank God Mr. Kirby learned to swim in the last year, am I right? Also, thank God for the audience's sake that little anecdote from earlier paid off in some tiny insignificant way.
Oh, it's not like we never saw Grant swim in the first movie. So you're saying that because Paul told you he did learn how to swim earlier in the film, and that Grant never stated he could, but you're ignoring that he's swimming here, that this is okay for you? Okay, we could be here all day, but this is why movie discourse is as terrible as it is, because you have empowered your fan base on the idea that movies need to tell you everything for that to make sense. However, when they do tell you something important about the story, everyone just calls it over-exposition. That's why I'll tell my audience to go watch the movie on its own without people telling you what you should be doing during your watching experience. Trust me, boys and girls, you will thank me later for this advice when someone then tells you the movie you like is shit, and you can back your claims up as it's why it's good in the first place.
Dactyl barely pushes door open for dramatic effect, which makes us think danger, but it's really just so we can see them fly prettily to freedom later, which makes no sense because of the thing we talk about in the next sin. Okay, so the pterodactyls have been living in Thunderdome this whole time, but in the last movie they were flying around free, and they're the only assholes who could have killed the boat guys in the beginning. So, were they locked in this thing the whole time, or are they free to come and go?
Jesus H. Christ. It's amazing how I've covered pretty much everything I needed to say here before these two sins ever showed up, which is really sad that they can't come up with anything new to shit on this movie for. First off, the Pteranodons didn't push the gate up. It was Amanda not shutting the door properly that causes the lock to latch on itself and allows the Pteranodons freedom. Second, to answer your question once again, Jeremy, yes, the Pteranodons were locked up in the aviary this whole time until Amanda accidentally set them free. The movie is just simply retconning the ending of The Lost World a bit and proving the Pteranodons definitely didn't kill the people on the boat at the beginning of the movie. So for beating Jeremy to the punch and answering these questions twice in this Sins video, guess how many sins we're giving him? That's right.
I really hope these kidnappers get a happy ending. They're just the best, aren't they?
Ignoring the fact that Jeremy obviously hates the Kirbys, at least they were better than Dotson. I mean, at least the Kirbys own up their mistakes and try to make things right for the group.
I have a theory that there are two kinds of boys. There are those that want to be astronomers and and those that want to be astronauts.
For girls, well, they're lucky we even show them a telescope, much less make a profession out of it.
I think we can all comfortably agree here that Jeremy is not an SJW, because somehow in back-to-back films, he misunderstands the point of the conversation as something that was sexist, which is just... yikes, man. Anyways, Grant's point, regardless of him saying boys, is that there are two different types of people. Ones that like to study behind texts and glass, and the ones that like to get out there and work with things hands-on. It had absolutely nothing to do with gender, you absolute Dumbo.
This river takes them by a field of completely harmless and beautiful dinosaurs instead of a field of raptors and T-Rexes, because even the f***ing river bows to the screenwriter's whim.
Or maybe this is a part of the movie where they wanted to show off the herbivore designs they did for this movie, because the herbivores barely had any screen time throughout this entire film. Besides, even if it were raptors and T-Rex, we would have something like the raft scene from the book, in which case we're getting that for Rebirth. Finally!
Well, I made fun of the island for seeming too small earlier, but damn, how many hours down a river do these assholes have to travel to reach the f***ing coast?
Considering that Sorna is 42,818.73 square miles, and they got the boat about midday in the film, yeah, it will take them a whole day to get to the coast from where they were.
Darth Maulosaur.
Jeremy makes a Phantom Menace pop.
Oh, the irony. The hateful f***ing irony.
Alright, after all this shit, I'm going to be throwing a huge bone out to Jeremy here, because this is still a CinemaSin that I quote way too much. Hell, I even did it to Jeremy during my Battle of the Five Armies video.
There's time to bro hug during the battle. It's really more of a skirmish of the five armies, isn't it?
Oh, the irony of this sin. That hateful fucking irony. So I think for the only time in this whole series, I will be doing something huge here and removing 50 sins. Because god damn it, this one is still funny as shit.
Wait a second, this cage was completely submerged in the water, remember? They were so underneath the water that the Spinosaur couldn't find them. So how did they hit the bottom of the river but still be able to go up for air?
That's probably because the Spinosaurus was rolling the cage around in the water like it was with the airplane earlier. That way the cage is pushed towards shallow water, and thus easier for the Spinosaurus to get at them. I don't know, I'm only watching the film and not trying to manipulate a scene here.
Finding Nemo lighting underwater allows Dr. Grant to find what he needs. Now I just need to figure out what light source could possibly penetrate the water this far below during a rainstorm, and more importantly, where or what that light source even is. You want me to lasso the moon, Mary?
Jeremy makes two pop culture references that aren't a sin of the film cliche. Oh, and if you wanted to know what the other reference was, it was from It's a Wonderful Life.
This flare gun still works.
Let's see.
Got some decent water in it. So if you have a flare gun and you make contact with water, you want this thing to work because it's your only line of self-defense, or, you know, to get signal that you're in danger. So after it hits water, I'm going to see if I can just shoot it, see if it still works. It should, because that's what it's designed to do, right? So let's try it out. Ready? Mm-hmm.
Well, would you look at that?
And the water apparently has some sort of Exxon spill on the surface. Or maybe it's just a comment on how dinosaurs became oil. I'm not quite sure what to make of this, actually.
Alright, so the movie's showing you that the gasoline from the boat being spilled out onto the river was for its own health, apparently. Also, fossil fuels are based on fossils from the Carboniferous period rather than the Cretaceous period, due to more burnt wood from that period becoming fossilized. I know both periods start with the letter C, but come on, Jeremy. A 5-second Google search is not going to kill you.
Angry Dinosaur runs away completely, instead of just around this patch of fire here and back at his intended target.
That's because the Spinosaurus is an animal, and like predators in our world, once the prey has put up a huge fight, the predator decides it's not worth the energy to kill them. Just like me with these videos.
Remember when we went fishing a couple of summers ago?
Nope, skip.
It could just be me literally overanalyzing a scene, but the story can be somewhat of an allegory to the beginning of the film. You have Eric and Ben as the trailer that gets stuck in the river that is being on Sorna. Then you have Paul calling upon Grant as the tow truck driver to help them get Eric off the island. However, the tow truck driver gets stuck in the river as well. To which point the driver wants to knock Paul's lights out for getting them into this mess. My point being is that it could be the movie's way of just saying that this is just a simple rescue story, and yet I don't get why it's a sin or why I still have the urge to send Jeremy for it. Oh well.
I definitely re-love my ex-husband face.
Pointing out things on the screen cliche.
I want the eggs.
Do you think so?
Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
She thinks you stole the eggs.
It's because she's a woman, isn't it?
Or it could be another mom accusing another woman of stealing her children. Listen, not every kidnapper is a man. There are cases where women have kidnapped children, and trust me, these cases are more fucked up than some of the male nappers.
If this asshole blows through one of these things and is actually able to talk to or confuse the raptors, I just might scream.
Well, considering that Grant is using the replica resonating chamber to communicate with the raptors in some way to get them to leave, of course he was going to try that to see if it would work. Also, Jeremy actually yells at the screen cliche.
Movie wants you to think the raptor blowbox had something to do with the escape, when it was really just the chopper noises.
It's almost convenient that you left that part of the scene out of the sin on purpose, because the footage you're using here is totally not going to confuse the fuck out of your audience.
Ellie has the power to get the Navy and the Marines to come on a rescue mission?
Nope! This was all due to Mark, who earlier in this film stated that he worked for
international relations, mostly treaty law, things like that.
That f***er lived.
That's what I'm saying! It's bullshit!
Pterodactyls have been nothing but raging murder birds this whole movie, but to facilitate a happy ending, they're done with that now. Just looking for a new home is all.
Well, if I was locked inside of a cage for God knows how many years and finally freed from the cage after so long, yeah, I would fly somewhere incredibly far away from here too.
Pterodactyls waited a long goddamn time to try flying off the island. I mean, how long since the last movie?
How many times do I need to explain that they retconned the Pteranodons being out of the cage from the previous movie already? Just because somebody thought of a funny Easter egg of one of the many endings of The Lost World, this is completely losing everyone's minds. Or at least CinemaSins' minds. So for having to explain this for a third time, guess how many sins we're giving them? That's right.
Also, somehow the fourth movie will completely gloss over these escaped pterodactyls, I guarantee it.
Oh, the irony of not looking onto a website's code source to find the answer to this question before Jurassic World's release. Oh, who am I kidding? This is what I get for being a FNAF fan back in the day. Anyways, it's the fact that these pteranodons flew all the way to Canada to nest there is the reason why Vic Hoskins works as head of security and why Jurassic World gets started in the first place. Sure, it's not mentioned in the films, but this event is in fact canon before Jurassic World was even released.
Seriously, f*** these guys.
Sure, we could say that back in the day when there were only 3 of these movies and this was the worst one, but now there are 6 in this franchise with a 7th one coming up. Trust me on this one, Jer, you haven't seen nothing yet.
Well, at least it was short. But hey, those pterodactyls are totally gonna kill everyone in San Diego now, aren't they?
Nope, they went for those trailer park boys, man.
Feel that? Feel what, Mr. Lee? The way the shit clings to the air, Randy? Shit clings to the air? It's already started, my dear good friend. What started, Mr. Lee? The shit blizzard.
You mean Election, Sideways, Citizen Ruth, About Schmidt, and Nebraska Alexander Payne? You mean most of those I just mentioned Jim Taylor too? What the hell? This is like when you find out J.J. Abrams wrote Armageddon, and you're like, yeah, but who really wrote this?
Ironic.
Escape this hell. So many times I've tried, but I'm still